Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. Joining me in studio, one of the candidates on your ballot that you can be voting for. It's Dan Seale, candidate running for re-election for Precinct 1 of the High Plains Water District Board. Welcome back to the show, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing really well. You know, Chad, it's a great day this morning. It's beautiful weather. Time for people to, if they haven't voted, get out and vote early. That's easy.
Yeah.
And I want to say this, Precinct 1, that encompasses all of Lubbock County, Lynn County, and Crosby County.
Very good. Yeah, now, I'm glad you brought that up because it might be something where people, they don't know where Precinct 1 is.
Yes.
This is one of those races where we talked about this during the break. When people see High Plains Water District, they're like, well, what is that? What am I voting for?
Yes.
Tell folks a little bit just about that, about the position itself.
Well, the on the board, we're responsible not for the day-to-day operation. We don't do that. You know, I wouldn't want to do that. I worked there for 43 years. So as someone says, you must know where all of the bodies are buried. Well, maybe so. I don't know. But we oversee the running of it. We set a budget, guidance to the manager and things of this nature. And we are charged by state law to preserve, protect our water out here, our underground water. We do not have anything to do with surface water, strictly underground water. The Ogallala, the Edwards Trinity, which they just recently, in the last 4 or 5 years, they designated some of that out here. And then the Dockham, that's the water that's owned down there. There's supposedly a lot of it down there. We have done some investigation here locally, and what we have found, it's saltier than seawater.
Really?
So it's not really potable. It would have to undergo a lot of treatment. But that's kind of basically what we do and everything. And, with working there for 43 years, I retired in July of 2011. And I had thought I wanted to work another year, but I saw some changes that were coming, and I just told my wife my butt's not bulletproof. All of the talk about meters and that type of thing, we were going to become a water regulatory agency for the state, and that's not what we were created to do. Mm-hmm. We were created to promote water conservation and do things of that nature. And I had some people start talking to me in about 2013 saying, hey, we need you on the board. And I said, no, the only thing I want to run for is the county line with the sheriff in hot pursuit. Well, I got more people asking, and finally in about July, August of 2014, I had an attorney friend of mine come to me, and he said, Dan, we need you on that board. Said, you have more knowledge as what should be doing down there. Well, I thought about it a little bit, and then I told him I'll run. I ran. I beat the incumbent, which that's always hard to do.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Yeah.
And this past 4 years has been a lot of fun. I didn't have to have a learning curve like my opponent would have to have. Whenever I stepped into the board seat there in January of 2015, after I was sworn in, I had already started working on one of the things that I saw that was not right, and that had to do with exempt wells. Now, that's the little wells that produce less than 17 gallons a minute. And they had changed the rule to say all exempt wells shall be registered. I said, why? Well, they just shall. Well, I told him, I said, no, that's not right. I said, that's all of your house wells. I said, do you realize, I told one of the directors, I said, you're going to have to take and spend money now to have your windmill out there on the pasture registered, because it only pumps a half a gallon a minute, but it's still a pumping. See? And they said, well, what do we need to do? And I said, change one word. What? See, they had passed a fee schedule of $100 if you do all of the paperwork, everything, and bring it in and on it, or $250 if the water district come out. Well, they said, okay, what word is that? And I said, well, let's just change it to say all exempt wells may be registered. Well, the third meeting, that was in March of that year, we changed that one word, and that one word saved the well owners, exempt well owners, within our 16-county area, an estimated, and this is a conservative estimate, from $20 to $50 million.
Wow.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that would have just been money that would have been coming into the water district and on that type of thing. So, yeah, it's a big deal. One of the other things that I have been a part of is the true tax cut that the water district has done 3 years in a row. And the true tax cut is whenever you set the tax rate below the effective tax rate. The effective tax rate, that literally brings in the same amount that you had last year, excluding all of the new construction that goes on in January. And in Lubbock, that's going to be quite a bit, I imagine. Yeah. It has been some of these other years. Another thing that I have been harping on, and they don't like me to talk about it, but is the transparency. I'll just show you, of course we can't show all of the listeners out there that, but that's our budget for 1 year. That's a $3 million budget on one piece of paper. Mm-hmm. We do not know where our money is being spent. And I'm not accusing anybody. There is not anything that's being done that is illegal or immoral or unethical. But we just don't keep account of where our money is being spent. I have tried to get 10, I believe it's 10, new accounting procedures into the accounting thing, so we can keep track how much money we spend for these little bitty things there, like the water level program, water quality program, tailwater abatement, open hole, irrigation assessment, Dockham wells, permits issuing, permits recheck, water depletion, and computer programming and maintenance. We have no idea how much we spend on that, and it's quite a bit. Now, the reason they have that is that whenever this board, after I retired, there was a big turnover in the board, all new members, because they were getting a lot of heat on the metering rule. They were able to modify it to where it would appease the landowners. It's still on the book, not in its original form, but it's still on the book, and I, for one, would like to see it completely taken off the book. Because somebody sometime might say, well, we're going to use that, and this is just what it means, and we got to do it. Yeah. I'd like to take it completely off the books, because water rights belong to the landowner unless he has sold them off. Yeah. And everything.
Visiting with Dan Seale, candidate for reelection for the High Plains Water District. Dan, before we go, tell folks why they should vote for you instead of your opponent. And this is again one of those races that they're hearing you here on the radio.
Yes.
But you know how people vote. Sometimes they go through and they just mark a name. Why does this race matter? Why should they vote for you instead of your opponent?
Well, in the last 4 years, there's been more 4-1 votes. And if something's wrong, I don't vote for it. I ask the hard questions. I always have, and I will continue to ask them. I want accountability. I've worked there. I worked there for 43 years. I know what the job, what jobs need to be done and how it needs to be done, and I can give a little guidance that way. But a vote for me is a vote for proven, effective leadership, and I will work my tail off to make sure that that is done, because without water, we're sunk.
Yeah.
And everything, and we need to protect it and work with people to do the best job and promote water conservation, new innovative ideas. And I'm all for that. But I want accountability, and we've got a good board, don't get me wrong. But we just have a disagreement on this one item.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to get it straightened out.
Dan, thanks for joining us today.
You bet.
Appreciate it. Dan Seale, candidate for Board of Directors, Precinct 1, High Plains Water District, running for re-election. Chad Hasty Show, KFYO.